What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Beastie Boys, and we're back for the final tune on the mix-up, 2007. Thank you for the patience as I've gone through this. And it's the Kangaroo Rat. So again, I'm inclined to wonder whether this is a particular proper name reference to something in their world, either in the past by this point or in 2007. Because again, there's been tracks on here that were actually references to record stores and things that were physical, specific locations, but not being aware of anything and knowing that there aren't lyrics to explain. I suppose that will be up to anyone who has insight. I would just point out that a kangaroo rat is a type of rodent that is common, I think, to the western US, and I think they jump around, which is why they're called kangaroo rats. But either way, let's give it a listen. This is an instrumental track by the Beastie Boys from their 2007 album The Mix-Up, and it's called The Kangaroo Rat. Definitely hear organ, a guitar. A flute, maybe? Oh, thought it was over. Ride cymbals, sleigh bells, a tambourine, I'm not sure. It is sort of the perfect ending for the album, isn't it? Just drifts off into space like a UFO. So yeah, there was a lot going on sonically that I wasn't quite sure what I was hearing. It was like, wait, is that a xylophone? Those struck melodic slash percussive layers? Or are those an elaborate percussion set, not unlike Thompson Twins or something, where, you know, they're hitting like wood cylinders or like metal chimes. It definitely had some melodic percussive layers where I wasn't quite sure what I was hearing. Given that they have used xylophone before, maybe I'm inclined to think that the particular parts that my brain was trying to decipher in that area were in fact a xylophone. But as I said at the end, it was like I wasn't sure whether I was hearing a ride cymbal, whether it was the tapping of a tambourine, whether it was some other like drum bit, but perhaps, in tandem with chimes or some sort of tambourine. So there were multiple elements of this that I wasn't quite sure what I was hearing, but the deep bass guitar definitely grooving away, a couple times sort of, pulling back and allowing other instruments to the fore, but then at the end getting very intense again. Some guitar riffs that were focused but also very, resonant and really stand out when they came. Ultimately, there was some organ, but I think also like some other keyboard elements that weren't that classic organ sound, but the vintage or characteristically organ type keys were definitely in there. So a sonic mixture, a blend of different instrumental sounds, and once again a mellow, groovy sort of jam type of vibe. Ultimately, I wouldn't necessarily say jazzy, but it did have that mellow, meandering feel of an improvisational jazz tune, maybe with a bit of a rock edge to it. So, yeah, ultimately a really cool album, and one that, unlike most of their tracks I had reacted to up until this point, were all about trying to follow the bars and, pick out the little stories, which in many cases were at least built off of things that actually happened to them or in their personal lives, and then in some other cases telling supernatural or sci-fi type of tales. But here it was more about the sonic atmosphere and the storytelling through instrumental sonics. I really enjoy this just as a concept album. The idea that they did an album like this I think is very cool. Once again, shout out to the great artwork on this. Thank you to the Beasties who've been here, following this journey and who've been patient as I took much longer to get through this album than the previous ones. As I mentioned, I don't currently have any more Beastie Boys material, but I know there's other albums of theirs that I didn't go through, and presumably there's non-album tracks and so on. I'll see what I can do to keep this journey going. It is not over, so stand on me, bear with me for a bit, and we'll find out what the next chapter of this journey will be. Let me know what you think of this track and album, and I will see you next time. Peace.